Welcome. Today we are actually going to plan a month. We're going to do the monthly plan for November. And this is a little bit early in the month. We're still only midway through October. However, I just accepted a job offer. And so I am going to really need to have November. The job that I applied for and was offered does have some travel, and I want to make sure that I have my calendar set up to address any kind of travel that I might need to schedule going into October or into November. So as I'm looking at the beginning of um, my work at this position, I know I'm supposedly going to be traveling about a week out of every month. And so getting this first one scheduled will be nice. So normally I plan in here, and I will still actually plan in here. However, I have a lot of November already done, and so I am going to plan in this Just Plans so that we can start fresh and show you how we build this out. Um, Taking into account the fact that we don't know quite yet what this new job is going to entail in terms of our travel opportunities. So I am actually going to use this washi strip to keep things organized here. And one of the first things that I'm actually going to do is I'm going to cut around this particular piece right here, this frame. I'm not going to get that feather in. So first I'm going to cut it away from the roll here, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut a little bit closer in on some of these elements here. And the reason for this is because we do have Thanksgiving coming up this month, and I do want to kind of block out that time with my family before I start adding in new work priorities. So Thanksgiving, now that I don't live as close to my family, is now the holiday that we all will be spending together. Just because it's a little bit easier to do Thanksgiving than Christmas. At Christmas time, I don't necessarily know what the roads are going to be doing. And so I just would rather have the time at Thanksgiving. So I'm going to make a little cut in the middle because I'm going to use this as a frame. And I am just going to cut this flower out. I will put this somewhere else. And actually, I should cut around it nicely as I'm doing this, so that I can use it somewhere else. And I'm not trying to be exact because I'm putting this on white paper. So ultimately, I am still going to be able to have it blend pretty well. But I do want to cut off the excess, any of this excess washi that I don't feel like I'm going to need. because I do want to write some things on these days as well. And so this will give me the opportunity to do that. So again, I'm just going around the inside, trying to steer clear of any of the print, making sure that that is all included in what I'm keeping. So there we have it. It's not perfect. That's okay. So Thanksgiving is the 4th Thursday here. And where I need this is actually on Wednesday. Well, no, I'm going to put it on Thursday because that is actually Thanksgiving. However, I'm going to put this here to kind of tie it in because we celebrate on Wednesday, and that's the main reason that I need to be paying attention here, is because we don't just celebrate on Thanksgiving. And a lot of people have asked me why. It stems from a long time ago, when my kids were little and I first got divorced. I didn't want to have my kids have to choose between, Thanksgiving at one family, Christmas with another family, all of that kind of thing. I felt like it was really hard for kids of divorce to have to go back and forth between families that way. And I am an only child. And so my ex was one of 8 children, all adults at that point. But it was a lot easier for my family to make the adjustment to a Wednesday Thanksgiving than for my ex's family to make that adjustment. Now, what you saw me do there was pushing this up against the crease here before I let it lay down on the side. If you ever have to go across the page, I recommend doing it that way. Push it towards the crease, get it in the crease, and then allow it to come up and over. And that way your book will still close well. Otherwise, you're going to have some trouble sometimes getting the book to close real well. So anyway, my family takes the eve of a lot of holidays, and that way my kids always got to enjoy, Christmas and Thanksgiving and such with both families. And I didn't take that away from them. I feel like kids have a rough enough time in divorce without taking away time to spend with family in a way that is meaningful to them. So that is why Thanksgiving is going to be on Wednesday this year. Now I'm going to add a little bit more decor here just because I really like this and it looks like it would be great here in this corner. So I'm just going to cut around this particular element. And I try to keep this in frame, but sometimes when I'm cutting, I forget and I pull it towards myself. So if I ever do that, just know that I'm trying to remember, but I may forget once in a while. We are not perfect here. We just try and be the best that we can. Perfectly imperfect, I always like to say. So, so we will take this and put this in this corner. I think this will look really nice, and tie the corner in right here without taking too much. You know, I can cut off a little bit here. I won't have as much room on the 24th there, but that's okay. I don't have a lot going on that day. I mean, it is my son's birthday, but usually on Mondays, I don't have a lot to put in. Now with a new job, that could change. So hopefully I'm not shooting myself in the foot here. But we are going to put it in just like that. And then I will cut this part of this off. I'm going to cut under my tab there, just so that that wraps that corner. And then we always save the excess washi. So let's get this in here. And I think this will be kind of perfect, coordinating a little bit with that. There we go. So we have a couple different elements in here. I'll add in some more pieces from in here as we go, but let's get some things written in as well. So on this day, we said that is Thanksgiving. This day is my son's birthday. I am going to, I have a little birthdays and holidays page that I'm going to reference over here. So this is my daughter's birthday. And daylight savings time ends there. We have got another birthday here. So let's use the first two. We have Veterans Day. We have another birthday here on Thanksgiving this year. And I think that is everything in terms of holidays. So for that, I used the color 850. It's a nice, really soft pink, and I think it goes really well with these florals. So let's write in all of our information here. We have daylight savings time ends. And this is Brent's birthday. This one is Sasha. We have Veterans Day. I like to note that just because even though I don't get it off or anything like that as an adult in the US, most of us don't get those days off. But I like to note it because it is really important to people who are veterans. And if I have veterans that I'm working with, then I want to make sure that, you know, they know that they're being thought of on that day. We have Thanksgiving. And another birthday. All right. I'm going to take a look and see if I have little balloons back in the back from before, when I used to use, when I got the monthly kits one year, I took them apart and put them in here after the month was up. And these used to have little balloons, but it looks like I have used them all, and that's okay. I'm actually good with just the soft color. That's quite nice. And we have some things that I need to think about in this particular month. One is on the 10th. I have these notes because of the fact that I was out of work, but I think I'm going to keep them because I'm going to really consider the value that I get from these services and whether I want that subscription to continue. So on the 10th, I need to decide if my Kindle sub gets continued. And say in here on the 17th, I want to decide if I keep the Archer and Olive sub. And I have sometimes kept the Archer and Olive in the past, but not always. You know, that's something that has sometimes been great, but you know, sometimes not so much. I do have this note up here that I do have to pass this by the end of the month. So that is that's important to have here. On the 22nd, I do have tickets. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in. And this kind of coordinates with these colors here and here in the feathers and such. But here we have 2 p.m. tickets to Les Mis. So that is going to be important. Let's get this color here for our moons, and I will put the moons in here on this top line. I have selected colors that I think work really well. So this is 990. This one that we just used, that is 076. I have 177 as a kind of a dark green, and then 850 as that kind of blush pink. And so the different colors for me in this particular spread are highlighting different things. So this is the beaver full moon. And this is our new moon. I like to note this. Now, even if you are not into anything astrological or astronomical, and you don't necessarily care at all when the moons are, especially for women, we tend to be heavier during the full moon. Our weight tends to be a little bit heavier. So if I am implementing some kind of new workout or something like that, at the full moon, I'm going to weigh a little bit more. And knowing when that full moon is important for that kind of thing, if nothing else. So, and same with the new moon, I'm going to be kind of lighter here, and I don't want to automatically assume something is working just because I'm feeling a little lighter on that particular day. Now, we have got some TV shows coming out. And I am just going to draw a little circle here. I guess I say some, but there's just one. But I do want to note when it's happening. So this is Stranger Things. Season 5. Volume 1. They're splitting this up into several releases, and I know we're going to want to watch it. So, um, that way I've got that there. However, I'm also going to put in a big square here. Now, realistically, we're going to be out of town. We probably will not watch it on this day. But I have it noted if we decide we want to. So here we will be in Illinois. Here we will be in Michigan. And then I don't know if we will be driving back home on this day or if we'll drive home on Thanksgiving. I don't necessarily recommend doing that drive on a holiday because a lot of things are closed and then you can't stop and get food and snacks as easily. It's a little bit harder for that kind of thing, but we'll see. So that is the kind of the busiest time of the month. I will say I am going to go out on a limb and guess that there will be a sale. Helen usually does Small Business Saturday instead of Black Friday. So I'm going to guess that there will be a sale on that particular day. So I'm just making sure that I note that that's a possibility. We are going to go and put in get a dot marker. So I'm going to go ahead and use this, I think it's salmon, island coral colored dot marker. And I'm going to mark in all of my date nights. And I know that they might change because of work, but for right now, I have them in, and then if they need to move, then I know I'm moving something rather than scrambling to find time and working date night around my work because date night is important. And so that is one of the first things that always goes on my calendar. Also, my call with my friend Kim. I know that we will have to move the Thursday one or the Thanksgiving week one, but it should always be first on my calendar also. Depending on the job, a lot of times you have to be places at certain times. And a lot of times somebody will just say, oh, when can you meet? And if you have these anchoring items already on your calendar and you know that they're already happening, then you don't have to guess at when you can meet. You know when that is. And so I like to make sure I have those anchoring items on my calendar from the get-go. We have, I'm going to put in, just because, especially with having the YouTube now, this holiday might be useful. This is Fountain Pen Day. All right. So that is the beginning of November. Now, what I do next is I go through and look at my Google Calendar. So we're going to see if there's anything in the Google Calendar that I don't have on here that I want to be aware of. So nothing in the first 2 days. Well, I shouldn't say that. I do have some things. On every Sunday, I want to put in a plan with me. And I want to put in my check-ins for YouTube. So there we have those. That way I know that those days I have to make videos. Or at least in the case of this plan with me, I have to at least have the video made and then be available to sit with you guys. So again, that may happen if I'm traveling for work. We'll see how things get affected. Now, if we go back and we look at October, we can see that October 31st here is 13 weeks. That's our 13-week check-in. So this is 14 weeks. 15. 16. And 17. My thought is that I will probably keep up with this weekly check-in at least until the end of the year. And then after that, going forward in 2026, it might just become a monthly check-in where we're looking at analytics and such for the month. But we'll see how it goes through the end of the year. Let me see. If I come into here, I have little ticket stickers. I would like one of those. So let's see if I have, or maybe one of these for, yep, I think I'll do this one for the show. So we will stick that here on that line. And I also have little balloons. So here we can indicate our birthdays for our birthday folks. A lot of times, you don't want to get too involved on the monthly pages here. And so these little bitty stickers are very, very helpful. She calls them tiny icons. And these are great. You can just stick it right on the line in front of whatever you're writing, and it just kind of indicates what it is that you're looking at. If it's a birthday or a show, something like that. So we have those in. Let's take a look at the next week and see what we have. Okay. So on the 5th, at 3:30, my partner has another imaging appointment. I don't really have to do anything for that, but if I am available, I might go with him for that. I don't necessarily think that he needs me to, but just in case. And then he has a follow-up doctor's appointment on Fountain Pen Day. So this is at, this one I'll put, well, I'll just put that he has a doctor's appointment. If it was for me, I would put a time, but he does not need me to go with for this. So I am just going to put that it is a doctor's appointment. That way I can just remind him that he has to be somewhere. We do want to put in here on the 4th. This is election day. And it looks like we are starting to get into basketball season in November. So there are going to be basketball games I'm going to have to pay attention to for planning purposes for when we go out and do stuff, but I don't need to pay attention to them for this. I do have a note, however, in this week to look for Singles Day sales in Asia. For those who don't know, in Asia, there's something called Singles Day, and it happens on 11/11 because 1111. And so right around that time, they usually have really good sales on hotels and airfare and things like that. So if we think we might want to take a trip in 2026, that would be a good day to get tickets. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I always put it on my calendar just so that I remember that I should be checking it. Okay. I'm not really seeing a lot. I am going to put a dot on. We're going to have to move our conversation in. Usually I have a chat with one of my friends on the 4th Thursday, but that's going to be Thanksgiving Day, so I don't think that's going to work for either one of us. Same with Silent Book Club. I'm sure that that will be moved because that would normally be on this day as well. And I have gotten through the month on my regular calendar. So what I'm going to do is open up Facebook. And if you've been with me for a while, following me for a while, you know that I like to look at my Facebook events to see what events might be happening, and I will put those in here on the side. For anything that might be going on in this week, I'll put it down here. I don't think there's going to be much because of the fact that it is Thanksgiving week, so I don't think there'll be a lot that week. So if you go to your upcoming events, if you go to Facebook on a computer and you go to events and you click on interested, see all, they will show them to you or Facebook will show it to you in calendar order. So you'll be able to see exactly what's going on in order. So I'm going to go ahead and write in our options. So for this week, we have a Samhain, event. And because these are on Facebook, I don't have to put times. These are dates that I'm putting next to things. I don't have to put in times because I can look at Facebook and I know where the times are. So the 8th, it is make Hilltide oil. Also on the 8th, our sculpture park has an after dark event. All right. And okay, this is the 10th to the 16th. This is Storytelling Fest. That sounds fantastic. Especially since this will be the month that I'm doing a lot of writing. So that would be kind of fun to go to. Then the 14 to 16, Ravitica. This is a Mystic Fair. On the 15th, we have the Ladies Over 40 Book Club. And on the 29th, and I think I can fit this in here, there is a LH Indoor Market. So again, now if my new boss says what day is a good, or what week is a good week for you to go to Florida, well, it's going to be probably this week right here because I have tickets to something here. So I obviously cannot, in fact, I should probably highlight this day even further. But it's probably going to be this week because here my partner's having some doctor's appointments. And so I want to be around in case there's anything that comes up, even though I don't expect there to be. Here we've got tickets at the end of the week. So the first half of the week I could probably go somewhere, but the second half of the week, that's not going to work. This week, obviously, with the holiday is not going to work. So if I have to pick a week to go to the job site in Florida, it's going to be this 10th through the 15th or 16th week. So even though there's some things going on the weekend, none of them are things that I need to be here for. And so by laying everything out like this, when I walk into work, I can clearly say to my boss, hey, if we're going to start planning, this is the week that I want to go. If not, it needs to be, early in the week this week. I want to be back by at least Thursday. I don't want to wait and come back Friday and then try to be at a matinee on Saturday. Because if the airplane is delayed for a day or something like that, things happen. I'd like to have a day buffer in between having those tickets. And then again, if I have to, I can go in this week, but I know that I'm going to need to have my phone handy and be a bit more accessible during that week if that's the week I need to go. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I could put some more decor around, but I don't necessarily want to get a whole new, I don't want to start going into here anymore to get some of these smaller items. So let's see if we have any more little decor pieces that we can add here. I suppose we could kind of cut this down the middle, or this one. This one's got that little feather sticking up. We could cut it. Let's do that. We're going to cut it right here. And I will just go around the top half. With some scissors. And I'll also go around the bottom half with some scissors, as we will use both halves in here since I have them. Okay. These papers with backing, because the papers are so thin, sometimes are a little bit challenging to get off. I'm going to go ahead and put this right below this bar on Thursday and Friday. That way I know that this is the start of the month and I'm not paying attention to anything over here. And this one came off very easily. Nice. We will stick this in here. And I'll move this Coffee Monster coat up a little bit. Maybe we'll put it up at the top. There we go. Just so that we can accommodate this. So, because we don't have room for any of these full, I don't have room to put a full clock here and still have this be efficient, an efficient use of space. So, and I don't think I have room for this either in this particular spread. So what I will do is I will just cut these edges, and these will go in with my stickers, although I do have this lovely little feather in here. So let's go ahead and cut that out. And we'll use this somewhere. Now on my main calendar, there are a couple things that I use that I'm not going to do here because I don't want to use up the stickers. I have limited amounts of the stickers for next year and for the remainder of this year and next year, and I don't necessarily want to use those up. We kind of throw this in here. It's on the side, so it's not really going to affect anything specific. I do put usually a sticker here on the first, this little rabbit, and that's one of the ones that I don't want to necessarily use. I have a limited amount of those. I do also have the fall back and spring forward stickers. Again, I'm just writing it in for this particular book because I don't want to use all of my stickers and have to buy more. Not that I couldn't. I am placing an order for stickers later this month, but sometimes it's nice to not have too much in the way of stickers. So there is our full November spread. I do not feel like I need to cover up and redo the month over here or any of the days up here. I could potentially go in and highlight them or do something like that, but I don't feel like it needs it. I'm happy with the way this looks. I can tell what day of the week everything is. Everything is clear. I know exactly where I need to be when. In the places where I'm really needed out of the ordinary are all highlighted in a bright enough color that I can see them. And then my tasks also highlighted in a fairly bright color. I guess the only other thing I could potentially do is maybe put a little line near these things that are actually tasks over here on the side of the page, so that I just know that I need to look at those as opposed to just potential events. Otherwise, I think this turned out really well. I love this washi strip. It is so cute and it's floral, but it doesn't feel overly feminine in the floral aspect. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.